Hello, my name is Danny Jensen, and this is apparently the second time I'm trying to record this tutorial. I just realized after recording a tutorial, I spent 1 hour recording the tutorial. I just realized that nothing I said was actually recorded, so it was only a bunch of images showing with no sound. Oh god, that was so stupid. But this means that we're gonna make it even more awesome, more short, and hopefully I won't make any errors. So that sounds pretty cool, right? And this is actually a very cool tutorial because people have been asking me about the facial wig. And I sound all I sound all elegant when I say it, but it's actually true. And I'm gonna show you how to make the facial wig in this tutorial. I'm gonna use a joint based wigging, a facial wig, and I'm gonna talk a bit about what is the advantages on using a joint based wig compared to using blend shapes. And quickly, I'm gonna just a joint based wig is creating joints on top of your mesh that controls the expressions in your face. And if you use the blend shapes, you take the face and you re-sculpt the face, so you model a new face with a little bit of the eyebrows up and a little bit with the eyebrows down, and you then add it to your additional mesh, and you can switch kind of switch between the meshes. In this tutorial I'm gonna show you how to create the joints, I'm gonna show you how to create the controllers, and I'm gonna show you how to set up the wig. So that's basically it. I'm gonna take a sip of my water, and then we'll get started. So I have here before your eyes a wig where I did use the joints to control it, but it looks like a blend shape wig because you got the joystick controllers out here, which means you can control the face with the joysticks. And this is what most animators are used to, but if you go to the advanced slider and slide it over, you can see you have even more controllers, and you can use those to go up and down and make all kind of fancy moves. And you can see that these controllers are oriented to the surface of the skin. This means it has the same rotation as the surface, and it's pretty simple actually. I got 3 controllers for the eyes because sometimes the animators want to shape the eye in some way, and I find that a very good thing when you're making a cartoony wig. I also have some for the mouth, and you can see if you open the jar or the mouth, these controllers actually go a bit down, and I'm doing that with having a control group on top of the controller. And in that control group I use a set driven key. I'm gonna show that later on how to do that. And that's the same way as I set up this controller, and you can actually have 2 objects with set driven key to influence one control group, so that's pretty smart. If I was to use blend shapes for facial wigging, I would probably do it if I had a more realistic face, because these joint based facial wigs give a lot more of opportunity. You can much more sculpt the face, and you can make much more over exaggerated facial expressions, because you can tweak them and move them even more out or move them even more inwards. So it's really a really good thing, especially if you have a character with a big mouth or big eyes. It's really easy to tweak and make the shapes you want with the mouse. So that is definitely a positive thing. It's also very easy to make because you don't have to make a lot of blend shapes and add them, and it can get really if you have two blend shapes on the brow, it can be a bit hard to actually make them fit. When you're using joints, it's really easy because you can just add influence and remove influence, and it's very fast. So that's basically all the introduction I'm gonna give you, and I think we should just get going with the rig. I would like to say that if you haven't been following my rigging tutorials on polyface.com, it's okay. You will still get some stuff out of it, but we did set up the whole character, so it would be a good thing if you saw it, because I also go through some stuff about it. Let me catch my breath. The last thing I did was to show you guys how you could paint weights, and that's why I'm not gonna show this how to paint weights in this tutorial. You can see I did already paint the weights. You can move the face around, and you can also move the mouth. You can open the mouth using the jar. So I did already do some painting weights on the mouth, which is fairly simple. So I recommend that you have done the same thing, because you want to have basically most of the painted weights done on your character before you go into the facial rig. Yes, we're gonna make some joints, but we're gonna add them to the skin cluster. This means that basically you should just have your skinning done, but we're gonna add a bit more to it. Okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is to create the joints, and in this tutorial I'm gonna show you how to rig the brows. I'm gonna start out by creating a joint. I got a shortcut here, but if you don't have a shortcut, you can just go to make sure you have the animation drop selected. If you go to skeleton, joint tool, you will create a new joint. I'm gonna hold down V because this is gonna make my joint snap. I'm gonna make it on this little vertex, and you can see if you rotate it a bit, it sits where it needs to. And then I'm gonna duplicate the joint, hold down V, put it on the next edge, duplicate, hold down V, put it on the last one. And then I'm quickly gonna go to the outliner, and I'm gonna call this left, brow, base, joint, 2-1, because this is the base joint on the left side and it's controlling the brow. I'm gonna call the next one the same thing, but I'm gonna add a mid instead of base. And the last joint is called end. So that's basically it for creating the joints. The next thing is to create the controllers. And in my rig I used NURBS surfaces, so I'm gonna do the same for this. If you go down to NURBS primitives in create, you can create a sphere. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make it here. I'm gonna quickly snap it to the face and scale it. So this is going a bit fast now, but you can always pause it or rewind. I'm gonna scale it a bit flat because that looks more nice. And I think this is gonna be a controller. Yes, maybe a bit more bigger. And I'm gonna go to modify, freeze transformations, and I'm gonna make sure it's only in translate and scale. I'm gonna freeze it. So yeah, now we got our controller. So the next thing we want to do is we're gonna align it with the surface of the mesh. So we want this controller to kind of be sliding on the surface, but not really. Yeah, because if we look at the mouth, we can see that it's not a clear plane, it's more rotated, and we want our joints to be going up and down on the same plane as this. And to do this, we need to orient the controller to the mesh. And this can be a bit tricky, but it's actually pretty easy. I'm not sure about it for the brows, because the brows are pretty it has a very strong curve to it already, so I think the best thing for the brows is actually just to rotate it. But for the learning purpose, I'm just gonna show you how you can align the controller to a face. So I'm gonna select the face, and I'm gonna select the controller. I'm gonna go to constrain, and you can constrain it to the normal. This rotates your controller, but if you don't mind that, you can see that it actually has the orientation that your what's it called, that your normal has, and the normal is the face I'm talking about. So this is actually pretty good. But you can see out here you have some values in the rotation now. So what I'm gonna do is, in the outliner, I'm gonna open up the controller, and you can see you have a constraint here. I'm gonna delete it, and now the object is in the same place. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit so it's more straight, and I'm actually, because I don't want my brow to go in this direction, I want it to go upwards, so I'm actually gonna zero the X rotation out, and I'm gonna just rotate it a bit more, because this is a bit more important that it fits the way I want it to move than the actual surface. But if I was doing it on the mouth, it will be more important that it is going on the surface. Yeah, so that was the first controller, and now I'm just gonna duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D. I'm gonna move it by holding V, middle mouse button. I'm gonna sorry, let me say that a bit slower. I'm holding V, and with the middle mouse button I'm gonna drag it on top of the joint, because then it snaps. I'm gonna drag it a bit out and rotate it so it fits our surface a bit more. And I'm gonna duplicate it one last time, hold V, middle mouse, drag it over to the last joint, drag it out, rotate it, and yeah, now I got the 3 controllers. We only need a name for it, so I'm gonna select the first joint, copy the name, and it shouldn't be completely the same name, so I'm gonna, instead of the joint, I'm gonna call it control, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the other joints, but this should be the mid, yes, and this should be the end. And I can see I made a small error, it should be a big M. Yes. So to get rid of, I'm just gonna freeze the transformation on the last 2 controllers. Make sure you don't got the rotate. So to get this rotation zeroed out, I'm gonna duplicate the first controller, and I'm gonna rename it. Instead of control, I'm gonna call it Ore for orientation. You can see I got a little plus sign here. If you don't got the little plus sign, it means that you haven't turned on shapes. So now I don't got the shapes on. I want to see the shapes, so I'm gonna show them. So if you press the plus sign, you can see the shape. I'm gonna delete the shape. This means that now I have an empty group with, it's the same group as this, but if I now drag the controller down onto the group, it gets zeroed out. So this means that the group now has the numbers in the rotation, but this is zeroed out because it's under the same group, so it has the same values as the group. It's a bit complicated, but we've done this. If you've been following the tutorials, we've been doing this a lot. So I'm just gonna do it for the other controllers, and hopefully my voice can get a little break. I'm gonna delete the shapes. Oops. So now I got the empty groups. I'm gonna middle mouse drag the controller down, which makes it parent under the group, and you can see now we got the empty groups. So this is all good. Now we're actually gonna do some skinning, but before that I'm gonna select the controllers. I'm gonna go to the first frame. I'm gonna press S. This means that it gets a key, so it gets some animation, and I'm gonna animate. Now I'm not an animator, but I'm gonna animate it anyway. So you can see I'm moving the controllers, but the joints are not following. And you can see I actually moved the joint here a bit. It's easier to skin when you have some animation on it, so you can actually see how it deforms. Anyway, I am now gonna select the controller, and I'm gonna select the first joint in the first frame where the controller should be zeroed out when you're doing this. So I'm gonna select the controller and the joint. I'm gonna go to constrain, parent constrain. So this means that you can see on the animation the joint are following the controller. I'm gonna do that for the second as well. And if you select the controller first and the joint and you press G, it will repeat the last command you did. So this means that it's gonna parent it to the joint. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the last one, and it's all good. So now I'm gonna select the skin, and I'm gonna select the 3 joints afterwards. Oops. And then I'm gonna go to skin, edit smooth skin, add influence, option box. It's really important that this is that you have locked weights on and the default weight is 0, because this means it won't screw up the skin weighting you already did. So I'm just gonna press add, and let's try to see the animation. Okay, nothing is moving. So the last thing we need to do is actually just to paint the weights for the joints. And I'm gonna do this fairly quickly because in the other tutorial I talked about how you should do this. So if you don't know it, you should check it out. And you can just see I'm putting some values in, skinning a bit. So let's see. So you can see it moves up a bit. So compared to making blend shapes, I don't know if you ever tried to make blend shapes. Oops, but this is very fast compared to that. And it's also quite easy just to paint the weights. So let's see how it works. It's already working a bit. So you could see that it should obviously need some tweaking. I'm just gonna hide the brows because we don't want to look at them right now. But it's really quick compared to what's it called? Blend shapes, of course. So I'm just gonna keep painting a bit. but this is basically we already done. Right? But I would like to show you how to make a controller as well for so you can see it's pretty nice looking. But I would like to show you how you can make a joystick controller as well. It's a fairly simple process, but I think it would you would benefit from seeing it anyway. So you can see it's pretty simple just to shape the eye. Now you can make a mean shape, and now he looks totally evil. And you can try to play around with this and find out how much the joints should actually influence, because you can see if I go this high it makes an error, but it can go pretty high and still look good. And this is the benefit. You can see you can really deform it and shape your expressions. So anyway, let's try to make a controller. So for that, I'm just gonna select the controllers on the face. I'm gonna delete the key at frame 10. I'm gonna delete the key at frame 1. I'm gonna go to the front view, and I'm gonna select create CV curve tool option box. I'm gonna make sure I have one liner selected, because this will make the corners sharp. Otherwise it will make a round curve, and that's not what I want. So I'm gonna hold X to snap it to the grid, and I'm gonna make this 5 grids long. And this is the first curve. I'm then gonna go to create NURBS primitive circle, and I'm gonna make one right here. So this is gonna be the controller, and the box around it is gonna be the box that holds the controller. Fairly simple, right? So let's give it some name, and this should be L. Wow. It's gonna control the base, so it's gonna be called base. And I'm gonna call it box holder. Nah, just holder. Control holder, maybe. Yeah, control holder. And this is gonna be called L wow base control box. Oh no, sorry. The box should be in front. Box control. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna freeze. No, first I'm gonna middle mouse drag it up to the box, so it's now parented under the box, which means first I'm gonna select the box and center the pivot. I got a shortcut here. You can also go to modify, center pivot, and now I can move it around, and the circle will follow. So under the box I got the controller, and I would like to freeze the transformations on that, so I'm gonna go to modify, freeze transformations, and you can see now it's all zeroed out. This is what I want. And now I would like to set some limitations. I only want to move this control up and down, so all the other attributes are gonna be locked. I just moved it very quickly up and down, but I noticed that it was in translate Y, so the only translate I'm gonna use is the translate Y. I'm gonna lock the rest, and I'm actually gonna hide it as well. So this means that if I'm now gonna move it, I can only move it up and down. I can't move it to the sides. And if I zero it out, it will be in the middle. But I also want some limitations. So with the circle selected, I'm gonna go to the attribute editor, if you're not in the shape but on the actually object, you can scroll down and you can see limit information. And in the limit information, you want to use the translate. And you can see X and Z is frozen, so you can't use those, but you can use Y. So if you go up, you can see that the max value is 6, and you want to use a clean number, and this means that the lowest value should be 0.6. And you can see now I can't really drag it more than this. So that's all good. I'm gonna zero it out, and that's basically the controller. So now to hook it up to the controller on the face. To do that, you can see you have your controller out here, but you can't. Oh, sorry. But you can't. I would like to make a set-driven key, but you can't make a set-driven key on the controller itself, because then it will you won't be able to animate it, because it already had a set-driven key. So this means you need to make a group on top of it. By pressing Ctrl G, you make a group, and this should be L, wow, base, Control, CTL, GRP, control group. So you can see that I'm gonna center the pivot, and you can see the orientation is exactly the same as the joint and as the controller. And if I move the group, you can see it moves the controller as well. So it has the same influence or idea as the joint, or as the main controller, sorry. So this means that now you can set a driven key on this group. So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna select the control group, and I can see that it's the Y translate. So I'm gonna go to edit, set driven key, and in the set driven key you have a driver and a driven. My driven is the control group, and the driver is the box controller. So this means that the box controller should be driving the control group. It's pretty simple. So I'm gonna load driver, and you can see I only got translate Y. That's fine. I'm gonna key it, because this is the main pose I want. This is the standard pose, the neutral pose. So it makes sense that this is 0 and this is on the right place. So I'm just gonna move it up now, and I'm gonna select the group. I'm not gonna select the controller. I'm gonna select the group, and I'm gonna drag it up as far as I can, because it's good to make it over exaggerated. When the animator is animating, he or she can just find out how exaggerated it should actually be. And then I'm gonna set a key, and you can see it goes up, but I also want it to go down. So I'm gonna drag the controller down, and I'm again gonna select the control group. It's very easy to select the controller, but keep in mind you need to select the control group. So I'm selecting that, and I'm gonna drag it down, I think to about here, key, and then you can see it controls the brow, and you can drag it up, and if the animator wants to tweak it a bit, you can tweak it afterwards, and you can set a key and stuff. So it's pretty cool. Sorry. And that's basically it for this tutorial. I did it quicker this time. That was really nice. I also made some mistakes last time that I didn't do this time. One last thing is that you can, if you want a color on them, you can make a surface shader. And I'm gonna select the controllers. I'm gonna right click, assign material, and in the material attribute editor I'm gonna make it yellow, because that's the color of my controllers. So you can see it's already looking a lot like the wig I had. The mouth is a bit more complicated, and eyes as well. When you're doing the eyes, you want a joint here going upwards, so you can rotate it, and the pivot is around the middle of the eye, because the eye is moving in a curve actually downwards, and also for the lower lids. So that's a bit more complicated. When you're doing the mouth, you want the mouth corners to be controlled a bit by the jaw. You can do that by setting a driven key. So when the jaw is down here, you can have a set driven key for the controller in the mouth corners. That's a bit complicated, but basically it's the same as up here. If you want to have a controller to move the whole mouth around, you can just group the mouth and set the pivot a bit in, and you can rotate the mouth to each side, and you can drag it up and down, and that's really a benefit. I did that on my wig, so you can do it as well. I'm not sure if you guys want me to go over all these things, but you can write me email on 3d.deje8@gmail.com. Yeah, and I'm just gonna show you if my computer can handle it. It's a fairly new computer. Anyway, if you go to polyface.com, you can see the site, and if you scroll down, I have a new menu. It's called Network, and you can network with me on Facebook, on Twitter, and most important, you can network with me on YouTube. So this means that on YouTube you can subscribe to my channel, and if you scroll down, now I can subscribe to my own channel, but if you scroll down to the logo, you can subscribe to my channel. And I would really be glad if you did that, because this means that I can see that people appreciate it and want to learn more about it. And when I make a new tutorial, you will automatically see it on your YouTube profile. So it's pretty easy to see the new stuff, and I would love to read it if you make some comments about the tutorial. Some people really help me a lot by writing comments and saying if I pronounce something wrong or if there's an easier way to do it. It's really nice, because in this way we can all grow, and I can learn stuff too. I still have a lot to learn, and it's really nice because I also get some feedback from it. So I just wanted to share that. I also get some emails from people who are really happy about the tutorials and really appreciate it, and it's really nice to read those as well, because then I really feel like I'm doing something right. Yeah, but I don't think I have that much more to say. I hope you will enjoy it. I'm gonna pop the email on the screen, so if you want to write me or if you have any problems, just send me email and I will try to help you out with the problem. And I'm looking forward to next time I'm gonna make a tutorial.